What's up, guys? I'm doing a little trade review. Today's trades. Today's Thursday, October 23rd. So let's get into it. Let's do a little analysis, right? We broke even for the day. One account's up 600, one's down 600. What are you gonna do about it? Kind of sucks, but it is what it is. All right, so we started pretty much the whole session. It was going to be bearish, and then we started rising up. Price opened 100 points higher. Right, it's a nice move to catch. But like I said, I don't trade until the 15-minute range is set. Could have taken a nice long off of there. I just realized that. Shit, 100-point long, that would have been nice. So the first thing we did was we accumulated to the prior week high, that 25,180 level. There was just orders right here, right at this level, and then there were orders stacked at yesterday's low. There wasn't any orders to the downside, which was my first mistake. I don't know why I assumed price would fall. I was right for the first part, right? I entered in here, pretty much top wicked it, and then I got out at 25,122. Got out of New York VWAP, re-entered, and then got out two right here, and then I got out right here at break even. So that first trade put me up $300. Right, I saw the lack of buyers. Orders were shifting, right? The order flow shifted. Started shifting bearish. I said it in the stream that I don't think we're going to accumulate downward too much. I thought we were going to at least come into overnight. It did not come into overnight. It stayed at New York. All right, swept New York twice. I didn't realize. I thought that was yesterday's New York. Yesterday's New York is right here. Never came down into it. Right. So I mean, what are you gonna do about it? Can't do nothing. But I won the first trade, and that was a pretty good trade for what it was. I was targeting the point of control, which was at 190 level, and did hit. Point of control was the upper part of the range. And like I said, I didn't want to be long in the premium. I should have been long in the premium. I mean, these were really good reactions to go long. So then that's what led to my first loss right here, right? We had those orders, same orders sitting right here, right? This whole entire time, all this was enclosed. So I added 4 contracts right here, and then I added another 2 right here. So my break-even point was about right here at 25,150, 155. And then, I got wicked out. Would have made some profits. I would have at least put it to break even, but it is what it is. I did over leverage. I did break my rule. That's the reason for the loss, for the big loss, at least. All right, so I am down $600 on this account. What are you going to do? The longer I hold my trades, it's interesting. Yeah. This account is not doing well on. I can't copy trade it. It won't let me copy trade it because it's a different account, even though it's an instant funded. It's really, really weird. But I mean, yeah, we were just consolidating between yesterday's low and prior week low. And I thought that would be enough pressure to move it downward to at least overnight, if overnight will load. But yeah, we couldn't get past New York. That's all it was. If I targeted longs, I feel like I would have been perfectly fine, right? We jumped up another 155 points. Some days, your analysis is not great. I stayed up late last night, So I wasn't in the right mindset. But then I came into my other account because I still knew we were going to touch New York. So what did I do? I entered in for 4. I caught 40 points for a win. Hit daily profit. All right, you don't have to be with the current trend, essentially, right? This was a price range where I thought we were going to break out of. And it was a fair thing to think, right? It was a good idea at that time because we couldn't accumulate any higher, and we did ended up going a little bit lower. But in the overall case, I mean, buyers didn't want to give it up, which is fine, right? I need to learn from that mistake, right? Because we didn't have any orders to the downside. There was no liquidity to the downside. I mean, after yesterday's drop, the number probably going to accumulate higher the whole entire session. But never assume, right? That's what happened here. I assumed that this price would break lower, even though there was no liquidity forming. I thought there was going to be orders going to be forming to the downside, at least retouch, overnight VWAP. But no, I guess it just never happened. Yeah, it's just, oh God, I hate this application. Yeah, but what are you going to do? Right. Still hit my daily profit limit, so I'm not worried. On this account, I didn't break my rules. I went with my bias. I went with my strategy. The only thing was that there wasn't any orders to the downside, right? And that takes it from being an A+ setup to like a B- setup, so to speak, But yeah, I mean, it was just, reversal down to New York, right? You have the accumulation of orders, slow volume, the fake orders to the top. Right? There was a lot of algo orders, 1,000 algo orders here. I thought it wouldn't drag price higher. I thought it would reverse, right? I assumed. I took I took a big loss on one account, and then on this account, essentially broke even for the day. But if like I said, I was talking about yesterday, if we get that break of opening range, right, and it's just accumulating like with insane volume, best thing to do is go long after retest or retouches New York, right? But I was so stuck on my bias that I didn't realize that we're just going to accumulate higher the whole entire time, and that was my mistake, right? I need to be more fluid with my trading. I can't just stick to one thing, stick to one entry. Consolidation, breakout to point of control. That's one setup, and it worked, right? I followed that setup perfectly, and I got the win that I wanted, right? It wasn't a big win, it wasn't a home run, but it was still a good win, right? And then rejection off opening range, after volumes, spiked up and coming back to this liquidity, like this topside liquidity, that should have been, a good place to go long. Rejection off New York to accumulate higher. Should have went long, but I didn't. And that's, it's a lesson learned, right? Because I don't have just one entry strategy. It's not just, inverse fair value gap, targeting a new high. That's not a real valid entry strategy, right? I have multiple valid entry strategies based on actual confluences, right? So one worked because I followed my strategy, and this one worked because I followed my strategy, right? There was an accumulation of icebergs here too. I forgot to mention that. Accumulation of icebergs, drag price downward, right? Because most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, price comes down to touch New York VWAP at a certain point, right? If you're able to catch the reversal, which I've been able to do it twice on this account, then it makes sense to do it, right? Accumulating in a range, we sweep the range, right? Sweep the liquidity that was there, and then sellers took it back to New York VWAP so they could get a better price as a buyer. That's all it was. All right. Usually we would see more rejections off yesterday's low or private week low. Any key levels like that, you would see major rejections. That's also another confluence, right? I was saying it on stream. I'm like, I've seen this trade before and I've seen it accumulate downward. This time it didn't, right? Another assumption. The worst thing you could do is assume, what's going to happen next. This could have been an easy day. This could have been an extremely easy day, right? I could have took this short right here, which was a perfectly fine short. I love this short, right? Short made sense. It was a good trade, right? Caught the top to the bottom, 80 points. Perfect, right? What I should have done next is realize we swept New York and target longs, right? Use this as a crutch. Target longs to yesterday's low. Or, prior week high, whatever it may be, right? Whatever my target may be, that should have been the better trade. But in this case, it didn't come to my head. And that's why we learn. Right? You're not gonna go mistake free every single day. You're gonna always make like a mistake, and the less mistakes you make, the better your day outcome's gonna be, right? This account I'm not doing so bad on, right? I learned from my mistakes. Did lose a little bit, right? Made a mistake on this day. I held the trade for too long. On this day, what happened? I think it was just bad trading. Maybe I don't remember what happened on Tuesday. But it was consolidating, right? We were in a consolidated price range and it took me out. Fair enough, right? And then what did I do for the next 2 days? I took the right setups. I analyzed the market correctly. I did the right things, and that paid out in the end, right? I'm up $800 on this account. I cannot complain, right? Hopefully the next week, make even more money, whatever it may be, right? I'm still happy because I'm still green at the end of the week, right? My win percentage isn't as high as I thought it would be with a 66% win percentage, and that's fine, right? As long as I keep my losses low, which I've been trying to, right? Average $200 loss, average win is $138, right? It's a little small. I'm going to correct that. That's one correction I need to make, right? The percentage of winning days today. Huh? I don't know. Yeah. At least I'm not in drawdown. Yeah, just got to work on keeping my losses small, right? If we're able to limit the red days, I think that'd be the best outcome. Limit the red days, because even if you make a mistake, it is what it is. But, not everyone's trading is the same. So we'll see. But that pretty much concludes it. I mean, should have been a simple day. Rejection off New York. Saw the accumulation of buy icebergs, which they were, and then watch volume, do the talking. But sometimes you lose because you make a mistake, and you got to be okay with making mistakes. This is a game where you're gonna pay for every mistake you make, right? And when you don't make mistakes, that's when you start making some money. That's all I got to say. So hope you guys enjoyed the trade review. I'll be back tomorrow online trading, hopefully making my money back on that other account, and then continuing to get a payout on this account, which I think should happen next week, 2 weeks. Depends how the market's looking. So I hope you guys have a good day. Thanks.